Welcome to the bunker. This is my 50th take of this intro, so I hope I get it right. Today we're talking to Johnny Youngblood. Johnny is a rapper, but I realized soon that there is a bigger story behind the whole thing. As a kid, Johnny had some health issues that were very challenging for him. He was abused, and then he spent the next decades dealing with the consequences of all this. He never gave up, not even when there was a organ transplant involved. He made it here to Prague, where he has made a career partially out of being a rapper. He's gonna share his story, tell us all about it, and it's very interesting, guys. Very interesting. This guy has had the wind in his face the whole life. I also want to mention the sponsors. The Oat Bar in Karlin, open on the weekdays from 8:30 to 3, except Fridays to 1:30, and open on Saturday mornings from 8:30 to 1:30. You can order on Volt and Bolt, or you can come and take away. Amazing oatmeals and skyr. My other sponsor is Alfred Jobs. As the word indicates, it's a job page, or actually not just a page, it's an app as well. So you can find your job, you can set up a job watch that sends you any interesting job whenever it's available, and you don't have to browse through millions of irrelevant jobs. What a fucking word this is. To find the right job. Anyway, if you're miserable in your current job, you can use Alfred to find the new one. And Alfred is one of the few pages, if not the only one in the Czech Republic that has pages. Its pages and interface in English, so you can actually find jobs in English and a lot of multilingual jobs. Enjoy the show, guys.
Era of the bro man rap, ain't no kids here. Popular mid-air, there enough swag in the world to get you off a life report. Bitch, life is short. T-Bullet worldwide ride when we light the door. Era of the bro man rap, ain't no kids here. Popular mid-air, there enough
On the bunker, we have today Johnny Youngblood.
Yes.
Welcome.
Thank you. Wonderful to be here.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
You're a rapper, but I would say a rapper with a twist.
Yeah, you could say that for sure.
You've had a corporate career alongside your rapping.
Yeah. Over at Honeywell. Doing some admin and some procurement for them. Yeah.
But I just took the liberty of checking out your LinkedIn, and then you have this kind of a rapper-like quote. Time is money and value is in every grain of sand in the hourglass. Let's rock.
Yes.
This is not a very corporate.
No, it's not it's not one of those cookie cutter inspirational sayings, but it's from the heart, and I think that's a lot what's missing in the corporate environment is heart, a little bit of soul.
Yeah.
So yeah, I kind of bring that along with my prior knowledge and experience as well. So
You've been here in Prague for 10 years, right?
Yes, that's correct.
And the name, just Youngblood.
Yes.
Is that your name?
Yeah, that is my government official. Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah. Thanks.
I mean, I guess you realized that when you realized that this was such a cool name, you just realized, okay, I have to do something with it. I have to be a musician or something.
It was kind of weird how I fell into that, but I got a lot of flack actually in elementary school and middle school because everybody would say it very strangely, like Youngblood, and it kind of made fun of it. And then after a while, it started to kind of like be cool once it was like in high school. So yeah.
Yeah, but that's how it is. Everything is silly when we're kids, and then it becomes cool when we're teenagers.
That's true.
There was a movie in '88, I think, with Rob Lowe.
Yep.
Youngblood. I remember seeing that movie. And Patrick Swayze was the bad guy.
Right.
But that's another story. We were not here to talk about that. So, but you've been here 10 years. So, what's your story? Where did it all start?
Let's see. Well, like as far as coming here to Prague, it started, I'd say, around 99, 2000.
No, I mean like...
Oh, like my entire life, like the whole story?
The story of Youngblood.
The story of Youngblood. All right. 78, Portsmouth, Virginia. Yeah.
Where's that? That's on the East Coast.
That's on the East Coast. Yeah, in Virginia. Actually, right there on the coast, even like right by the water. So, yeah, just growing up in a place called Academy Parks, housing projects for military and shipbuilding workers who used to come in and used to stay there. It was very rudimentary living, Yeah.
Was that like you? So you from a big family and
Small family. It was a family of four. My mom, she's from North Carolina. Dad is from Georgia, Macon, Georgia, and then I have my sister and then myself. Yeah.
and were they in this industry, this shipbuilding?
My dad was. My dad was in the shipbuilding. My mom was a teacher for a while, and then she moved over into nursing afterwards. But my dad, he was in shipbuilding. He also worked for Procter and Gamble, working in a warehouse, and also was Navy personnel as well. So he was working for the Navy. Yeah.
Were you guys well off, or I mean, financially?
Financially, we would say lower middle class. I would say we weren't middle class, but we weren't like destitute poverty, but we were somewhere definitely in between. We had struggles financially, but we didn't always go without. Sometimes we did, sometimes we didn't. Everything was, came and go.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how? So this town, Portsmouth, it's a big city, or
it's a small town, small industrial town. It was kind of built around shipbuilding, so you have a lot of people working in blue collar working areas, and there's also other industries that was very industrial as well. So a lot of blue collar workers, and then there was a lot of lower middle class people like myself, and also people who were also like pretty much poverty level as well. Yeah, so it was kind of, and also, I mean, it was also some well-to-do people, but it was a mix, and it was definitely very segregated. It was a very segregated town back in the I guess the Jim Crow era. Black stayed with blacks, white stayed with whites. And then if something came in between, it was it was always something pretty much negative, more than likely. Yeah.
And how when you're growing up, what's the situation there? I mean, was it a peaceful town or?
Growing up when I was young, it was peaceful when I was younger. Like it was, I would say okay, but slowly but surely you start to see the degradation. Yeah, in certain places. The housing projects for sure was always housing projects, which was, kind of, crime, drugs, guns, et cetera, et cetera.
So the crime rate is high or?
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, we just had some water.
Yeah, simultaneously.
Yeah.
But you made me thirsty. As soon as you picked it up, I was like, oh, yeah, there's water next to me. I should drink some, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, this town is a bad town or?
It's I would say, I wouldn't say completely bad. I mean, it's bad in a way of crime. Yeah, there's a lot of crime. But at the same time, when I was young, I was completely happy and oblivious. Yeah, if I could say that. But yeah, there was definitely a lot of crime, a lot of drugs. There was some around me in my neighborhood as well. And then there was, just all around, even in school, like high school and stuff like that. It was, a lot of fights, a lot of drugs, a lot of, yeah.
And how were you as a kid? Well behaved?
Let's see. When I was younger, kind of, yeah. But then as I got older, then I started kind of falling into, I wouldn't say gangs, but, we had our neighborhood friends that were identified by the neighborhood. They're not necessarily a gang per se, but, you grew up, you were basically a product of your environment, so you hung around the people that you lived around. So you got into the stuff that they were doing. So, if it was into drugs or, crime or something like that. Like my friends, we weren't really into crime so much, but we definitely had our fun. We had parties. We, messed around with the police, kind of like tried to trick them into coming and we would basically call the police on ourselves. And then they would come out, and of course they would think that, something's going on, and they would come in, and then they would like come and talk to us. And of course we're not doing anything, but it was a way to try to get our negotiation skills, in case we ever got stopped by the police or harassed or whatever. Because there was a lot of police harassment too. So you could be doing something completely innocent, and the cops would just come and will just fuck with you. So yeah.
And how did you do in school? You were good?
Let's see. Yeah, high school was tough. Elementary school was okay. Junior high school was all right. High school got kind of gnarly. So, yeah, high school was tough for me. One, because I had, attention span issues, so I couldn't even sit down in class long enough to even really learn, or I would just be completely bored by like English, for instance. Like, I was actually quite good in English. I knew how to read well, write well, et cetera, et cetera. Therefore, I became bored. So then I would never go. I would just go, over to the other lunch periods and, either, start like a rap cipher or, talk to the girls or whatever, But yeah, English was not my priority. A couple other classes were done like that too. But yeah, but I did have my favorite subjects as well that I did well in. Science. Mathematics was pretty decent. But as far as like English, yeah, English was not. It wasn't that I wasn't good. It's just that I didn't try. I didn't put forth the effort because I was bored. The subject matter just didn't strike me as something as I wanted to do. So yeah, I skipped school. Did typical unruly teenager things basically. Yeah.
But you told me, I think, that you started already at 9 writing rhymes and poetry, right?
Yes, that's true. So like when I was 9 years old, I went to a psychiatrist because I also had some previous trauma medically and sexually that I had to deal with and try to work through. So I had a psychiatrist at that time. So I think she somehow inspired me because I liked her so much. I forgot her name, but she was such an awesome psychiatrist. I wrote some poetry. It wasn't like any love poetry or anything, but it was kind of like describing how I felt according to colors. So I took colors and applied them to how I was feeling at that time. And ever since then, I was like, wow, this is actually a very powerful tool to help me get through some of the trauma and some of the maybe anger issues I might have had or sadness or something like this. So poetry was definitely an outlet for me therapeutically. Absolutely.
But this is at a very young age, right?
Yeah, quite.
So what was these things that had happened to you?
Oh, yeah. So I was born with a birth defect. So what it was is that I couldn't pee at all. So the urine would back up into my kidneys and it would start to break them down a little bit. The doctors went in, they tried to fix it. They botched it. Thank you, Maryview. They botched it. They went in with adult tools. They then caused me to constantly leak at this point. I didn't have any muscles to control and contract the urine to stop it from going. So it constantly dripped. So that became an issue, and it became a series of recorrections and one doctor just said, you know what, we're just going to go and reroute your whole urinary system. You're going to now use a catheter, and we're going to build a conduit into your abdomen, a small hole, using your appendix. And then you're going to take this catheter, and you're going to put it in there, and it's going to go into your bladder, and then you're going to pee like that for the rest of your life. So I was like, okay. Well, first they gave me a choice of whether or not I want to do it through my penis or if I wanted to go through this conduit that's in my abdomen. And I've had the whole penis catheter thing before. It was very unpleasant. So I decided to go with the abdomen, which was actually a really big decision for me to make. Actually, that was at 7 years old when I made this decision. Wow. Yeah, it was a very big one that I had to make, but it was mine on my own. My parents couldn't make it for me. I couldn't, it was all on me. So I had to set the rest of my life basically at the age of 7 of what I'm going to be dealing with. So it was pretty heavy at the time, but I went with that. And so far, this has been life for me, really. Yeah.
And I guess this was difficult for you in terms of socially and school and other kids and stuff.
Yeah. When it came to like, dressing out in gym class, and you have to go and change clothes. I would never change clothes. So I would fail gym purposely because I didn't want to change clothes in front of the other students and have to expose all this
Equipment.
Exactly. All this, these holes and these scars and all these things. So, or if I really had to like dress out or else I would be suspended, I would go into one of the bathroom stalls and dress out. But most of the time I would just not dress out. And the teachers always wanted to ask me why, and I really wasn't apt to tell them, So it was just kind of like, this guy never dresses up, he doesn't care, And then then there was a couple of times where I was like, you know what, I'm going to be brave, I'm going to do this. And then comes the jokes, the humiliation, so that kind of let me know that no, not dressing out is the way to go. So yeah,
and this was bullying, basically.
Essentially, yes.
Yeah. And did that follow you for a long time?
For a while, yeah, for a while. There was just certain things that were going on in school at the time. Like there was a race riot at my school. The whites were fighting the blacks were fighting the whites. I had a white best friend. Where he was being attacked, he was getting beat up, and I stood up for him. We started to fight together, and I tried to get him off of him and stuff. So I kind of had to wear that badge of being on the white side or being more white than they were, and then then came the bullying after that too. So I got jumped, I got beat up, stuff like that. Yeah. I had one neighborhood. They used to pretty big neighborhood, so they had like I don't know, like 20, 30 kids. Anyway, some of those kids would walk through my neighborhood. This is when I was like about 16, so not necessarily kids, but teenagers. But yeah, they would be walking up and down my street, and if they saw me, it was time to fight. Like it was on site. Let's go. Always starting some trouble. I got jumped at the public library around the corner from my house. They came over there and they knew what they wanted. They started something. I started to fight back, and then, his boys came in, helped him out. They all stomped me out and stuff. And then I came back, was like, okay, let's go out and do this one-on-one. Of course, they never wanted to do that. So yeah, just dealing with a lot of the bullying and some of the tough neighborhoods around,
And what about your parents in this? I mean, they knew about these issues. Obviously, I mean, they knew about your medical condition, but did they know about the bullying?
They knew about it, but I didn't tell them like everything. I didn't, because I felt like at this point I should be man enough to be able to to go ahead and deal with some of these issues myself. So I didn't want to involve necessarily my mom, but she knew that I skipped school at one point for months. I think it was like for like 2 straight months, I just did not go to school at all. And, one time I got caught, my mom's friend, saw me walking across, not going to school, walking to 7-Eleven somewhere, and told my mom. And then, me and my friend, we got caught. So, then I had to go back to school, got jumped the same day I came back. So they were definitely like, oh yeah, there you go. Yeah, let's go talk to him, and got stomped out again. So but, yeah.
But how about the teachers and the school system?
Man, that's just kind of like pointless, because it's like they can do whatever they can in school, but when it's out of school, it's kind of like their hands are kind of washed on that. They can't really do much. So if you handle it in school, then you're gonna see it a lot more out of school. They knew where I lived, so it was no problem for them to get their hands on me, basically. So I had to fight through a couple of things. Yeah.
But you never crossed your mind to give up somehow? I mean, like
no, you know, I kept going to the same school. I mean, after a while we moved. You know, we left Portsmouth and moved to Virginia Beach. I think that helped because once I moved to Virginia Beach, my grades just shot up. Like it was just a completely different environment. You know, Virginia Beach was I don't know. It seemed like moving from. I don't know if you ever seen the movie Lean on Me.
Yep.
Okay, so like moving from Lean on Me to like 90210 in a way. So when I moved there, at least that's what it felt like. It probably isn't like that, but that's what it felt like to me at the time. So when I came there, it was a completely different environment. I felt free to be able to learn. There was a big music scene there, which I was a part of as well. It was living in Virginia Beach was great.
Yeah.
In comparison, like Portsmouth always will have a part in my heart because it's like, you know, that's your training grounds right there.
Yeah.
You know, so, you know, and plus I have a lot of good friends and most of my family. I mean, I have uncles and cousins and stuff that live there. And then in Virginia Beach was just, you know, it's great. You know, my grades were wonderful. The teachers were more, I think, enthusiastic to help. To get you where you need to be. Lunches, of course, were better. For the first year, I would say, when I went to Virginia Beach, was great.
Yeah.
Yeah, first 2 years. I think high school, then I started kind of getting too much more into the music scene and was partying a little too much and having too much of a good time. By that time, I was already going to high school like half the day. You know, I only had like 3 classes left, and then after that, I was graduating, so it was kind of like, yeah, I can do whatever. Yeah.
But you mentioned earlier also some trauma related to some sexual issues.
Yeah.
Was that in Virginia Beach or?
I was living in Portsmouth, but I was in North Carolina to visit my grandmother, and it was a family member who did it. So it's like, you know, a lot of times it is your family members that actually kind of make the moves on you. So it's some more of, I don't know, like being careful even around your family. You can't trust everybody. He was actually supposed to be in charge of me at that time because he was an older teenager. I was 7 years old, so he was supposed to be looking after me. And this was right after I had my major surgery where they completely like integrated my whole urinary system. So like a few months after that, you know, then comes, you know, the penis, you know, so it's like, okay. So it was kind of tough dealing with that afterwards. For years, kind of like, I didn't say anything, didn't tell anybody.
So he was, how old?
He was about 18, 19, I think at the time. Yeah.
And he raped you or?
No, it was weird. He didn't rape me per se, like violently, like hold me down and then like, you know, take my shit. It was more like.
Yeah, but you're a kid, so
yeah. I'm a kid, so it was like kind of like you kind of do
whatever you're told.
Yeah, whatever you're told to do. Yeah. So you know, so I mean, it did occur to me to be like, okay, this isn't right. This doesn't feel right. But to be completely honest, there was a slight bit of intrigue as well.
Yeah, because you don't know what this is.
Right, exactly. You don't know what it is. You don't know what's kind of happening, but you're kind of like, okay, you know, you're at the perfect age where you're curious. At the same time, you kind of know what's right and wrong, but at the same time, you know, your curiosity is a bit stronger. So that he kind of took advantage of that. I think being an older person, he should know. So yeah, he kind of did take advantage of that.
Did you tell some? I mean, what happened
eventually?
Then? Nothing happened back then on it, or
no, not until I was, I think, like 7 years later. Yeah, I was like 14, and then it was funny because there was a ABC after school special. So back in the States, there's this thing that comes on around 3 or 4 o'clock, you know, usually around when kids are kind of coming out of school, and it's kind of like this program, the stories where the child has some sort of conflict resolution, kind of like from a kid's perspective in a way. So this whole thing of like being sexually abused came up on there. So my mom started to talk about it because it happened to her. And then when she talked about it, she was on topic. Then I was like, well, you know, since we're on the topic, you know, this happened with this person. And you know, and she was kind of, you know, she was shocked because, you know, she had no idea that this happened, like even that I kept it to myself for this long. And then, you know, she called, you know, his parents, and then, you know, then apparently he had been doing that to other children, like no problem. Like that was just, you know, that was his MO. And he then also had to go through some sort of therapy, and he also did, he had gotten in some trouble with it. So he was also dealing with his issues because it happened to him.
Mm-hmm.
So it just kind of like passed on and on and on, kind of. So.
And at that time, I guess that's one of the reasons why you went to therapy as well.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I mean, it's pretty big to deal with for a kid, these things.
Yeah, for sure. Like it was just a lot weighing on me. You know, it was just a lot of just kind of like turmoil, just kind of sitting on my chest. Yeah. Yeah.
Listen, I write this guided in principles. Given, I thank the universe above me for keeping me righteous. I'm grateful. I'm still living windowsills, giving light of day. Worry seems like
But you used the rap or the poetry in a way as a healing, or let's say a way to get things off your chest.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I would say the rapping and the performance. You know, if in my live performances.
When did that start? I mean, around what age does it become more than just doing it in your room, kind of for yourself?
Actually, somehow kind of recently. Like I was 18 when I started writing like raps, like really just like rapping. I was living in Virginia Beach. I was getting with this crew that was local, called You Know the Crew. Shouts out to them, You Know the Crew out in Virginia Beach. Now we're kind of like everywhere now, but yeah, I started recording with them. I did a few recordings, and we kept in touch, and we're still, you know, friends and colleagues to this day. So everything I do is still, You Know the Crew after all these years, probably like 20 or so more years. So I got with them. I didn't do anything major. I didn't put anything out. I was just writing for a while. I moved from there, from Virginia Beach on up north to Washington, D.C., Northern Virginia area. Still writing, but still not doing any recording until I got with a punk rock band called Chicken Master. And I did.
That's a great name.
Freaking awesome. And they were so talented. These dudes are so talented, man.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, they were great. Their music was spectacular. So that's why I rocked with them for sure. So yeah, I did a couple of raps with them on a lot of on their pop, not pop, but their punk songs, and it sounded really good together. You know, and then we didn't do much after that. I think it was just kind of like a special appearance, 2 songs, but we kept in contact. They're still doing great things down there in over in Maryland.
But this with the, just a little bit curious about the rapping. I mean, did you have some idols or something?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Many idols. I would say Busta Rhymes would be one. Pharoah Monch would be another. LP from Running the Jewels is another. Aesop Rock, not ASAP Rocky, but Aesop Rock is another. I would say Common could be another one. Few others.
Busta Rhymes is kind of the biggest name.
One of the biggest names, yeah, I would say.
And I saw it somewhere that people actually compared your style to his.
Yeah, and yeah, quite as far as the intensity, I think. Especially when I do my live shows, yeah, it gets kind of wild. Yeah.
And talking about rappers, actually, I saw you're not the only rapper out of Portsmouth. Missy Elliott is also from Portsmouth.
That is correct. Yep, Missy Elliott is also from Portsmouth. We actually, her family and some of my family actually know each other and went to school together.
Okay.
Yeah. She also went to Woodrow Wilson High School, which is the same high school I went to as well.
And she's, I mean, like the biggest star. Yeah.
Legend.
From
Yeah, from Portsmouth for sure.
So during this time, I mean, I guess I don't know. After high school, you start working, or what's the kind of the trajectory there?
Let's see. After high school, I moved to Washington D.C. I lived up there with my sister, and started working for Starbucks. Was working at 14th and G, down there in D.C. downtown. That was pretty cool experience. Yeah, that was fun. A lot of different people, because I came from kind of almost like a homogenous sort of segregated area, not a whole lot of variance there, not a whole lot of people from foreign countries. And then, the world just opens up when you go to, you live in Washington, D.C. So that was fantastic. I think I felt more comfortable, like in a more of a international environment than anything. So I felt even more at home.
Yeah.
There. Yeah. Washington D.C. was a good time.
So there you kind of had a job, plus you were rapping, doing music on the side.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was doing music on the side. I had my cousin Pikey. We were both rapping at at different places, mostly open mics around DC. A couple that was on U Street, I remember. State of the Union was one that used to be there, and now is a legendary place, but is no longer there. But yeah, we definitely did some cool stuff on some stages out there. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And at this time, I mean, are you planning on any specific career? I mean, or is it just you gonna you I don't know, you were gonna be a businessman or a rapper or a employee, or I mean, what was the
Well, I think what it is that with rap, I don't want to be famous. I just want to be respected. Essentially, I want to be respected for my craft. I think being famous is very, very overrated. There's so much sacrifice that I'm not willing to make for fame. That's pretty much it. I see some of the rappers now and the things that they have to go through in order to have that hit, or
like what?
Like I would say, some of the secret society sort of Hollywoody things that kind of go behind some of the success of people. A lot of
They're selling their souls.
Selling their souls, yeah. A lot of the sex parties and things like that, in order to kind of get your name around, to have opportunities. I don't think that's the sacrifice I'm willing to make. Also, I think if I can just on my own, just be independent, do my thing, have my fans. I don't have to have like this worldwide appeal or anything like that. But as long as I have my cult following, I'm happy. I'm happy. So I have my nice little expat community here. They like what I do. I keep doing it for them, and I'm a happy camper.
So, but back in the States, you were already kind of you already knew that you would not necessarily be only a musician. That you would do other things as well.
Well, yeah, because it's kind of like you have to have a plan B. I think at the time when I started rapping, I knew that I wouldn't only just be rapping for sure. Because it's a long shot. To actually be famous. Everyone thinks they're gonna be, they're gonna write their first couple songs and they're gonna be, they're just gonna explode, right? And it's always based off of skills, right? Like that's the myth. Okay, that's not how it works. You could be a skillful rapper. You can use all the awesome words you want. You can say the most intricate rhymes you could say. You can come up with these brilliant concepts and still be really relatively unknown. So it doesn't matter about skill, and it really is more about what you're willing to sacrifice and who you know.
Yeah, being in the right place at the right time and all that.
Right,
more of a chance or luck than maybe skills in the end.
Right, that's true. And I think at the time when I started rapping back in '98, I think Virginia wasn't really well known for producing rappers and stuff like that, right? We really, like, Missy had just came out. like just came out. Like I think she was on her way out. Timbaland also the same, because Timbaland's also from Virginia Beach. Pharrell the same. Pharrell, he came out a little bit later, like around 2000. And really, we weren't known for having like a whole bunch of superstars and rappers and stuff. So it was going to be a long shot for me anyway. But I think if I had the same, I would say the same fervor about hip hop back then, because that was when hip hop to me was good. Now hip hop is kind of like all over the place. It's good, it's bad, it's a lot. It's easy to get into. It's super accessible now. You can have anybody rapping now, so it's kind of like not as special. It's not as niche. It's not as, you don't really need talent anymore. You just need to have a look. You need to have a style, and you need to have
a great mixer.
That's for sure. You gotta have a great mixer, a great producer, someone who knows how to edit their ass off. Yeah.
But that's what I feel about it. I agree with you. I feel a lot of the R&B music and hip hop music has gone into being very produced.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And, it kind of takes away the charm in some way.
Absolutely.
And the same happens in any music style. I mean, the more you produce it, the less authentic it is, actually.
Yep.
But you told me that you had some issues also. You had a job at Toyota, I think.
Yep.
Was that in Washington or?
That was in Northern Virginia, in Manassas, Virginia.
Is that after Washington or you?
That was after Washington. Yeah.
So you moved there?
Yeah, I did. I moved to Manassas after I lived in DC for a while. So yeah, we moved back down south a little bit. So so living in Manassas for a bit. Actually, that's how Manassas is what started my story here.
To Prague.
That's like the beginning right there. Was in Manassas.
And you what did you do there in Manassas? What was the?
I met my wife in Manassas.
Okay.
Yeah, she was an au pair, coming from Prague, and she was living there for about a year. And I was working for Starbucks at the time in Manassas, and she came by and she was ordering her nice little green tea every day, or almost every day.
And she liked the barista?
The barista liked her, I think, to start. And then I kind of grew on her after a while. Yeah, I grew on her. So we were like really good friends when she was, in town. We weren't like romantic at that time. We were with a group of people that I worked with in Starbucks, and then she also had a friend who was also an au pair, who was with her when she comes to visit Starbucks.
So she's Czech, right?
Yeah, she's Czech. Yep.
And this is what, some 11 years ago or
yeah, this is back in 2000.
Yeah.
Yep.
More.
Yeah, more actually. Yeah. Yeah. So it was 2021 now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Damn. Yeah, it's a while.
It's a while, yeah.
It's a while, yeah.
And what happens next?
Let's see. So she moves back to the Czech Republic. We keep in contact via email for a while. So like from 2000 and 2003, she comes back to visit. Then we decided that we're actually very compatible romantically as well. So we
when you say we decide, was that like was there a proper meeting at a table and
kind of, yeah, like well, not necessarily a proper meeting, but we met. We only had like maybe 2 days together. So we were walking up and down Georgetown. We were in Washington DC, and we were just kind of walking together, talking, getting to know each other. I think her English had gotten a lot better by that time. And we had our first kiss in Georgetown underneath a bridge. It was great. We wanted to keep going. She had to leave, of course, come back here. Then we kept in further contact.
on email?
Yep, on email for the next 7 years.
Wow.
Yeah, in the next 7 years. Yeah,
And during that time, you're just doing jobs, and
I'm
she's
doing-
working here, and
yeah, she's working here. She's having relationships as well. I'm having my relationships, and she's working. I'm working. She takes off to go to Brazil for a year. She's doing a work study program there. I'm working for Toyota. I'm grinding it out.
and you like that job. You told me that you loved that job. At
Toyota was great. Toyota was like my favorite job. Miller Toyota, my favorite job. Because the people there were awesome. Like, were great. Always remember them. So then I got let go. I did something stupid. I knew that there was drug policy there. I knew because they have to keep everybody safe. So if something happens, basically what happened was there was a brake part that fell off the counter, hit me in my toe. I had to go see the doctor, or I had to go to the hospital. So if it's an occupational work hazard, you have to get tested to make sure that
that you're not under the influence. It's not your fault.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. So they had to prove that. I failed. I was on probation, which was cool. They didn't fire me on the spot. They were like, okay, we're going to give you some chances here. And then I had my friends over. My roommate was also an employee of Miller Toyota. My friends came over. Of course, they had some influence on what I was going to do with my lungs. So we rolled something up, we smoked it, and then my roommate didn't like it. Said something at the workplace, kind of caught wind of what was going on. They was like, okay, we got to pop him. Let's take him in. They popped me. I thought I was smart. So what I did was, this is going to be really crazy, this story. So I knew I was getting popped. I was like, okay, I had some pee that was stored just in case of this situation. I had some pee in the refrigerator. I was like, okay, I'm going to inject this pee into my bladder because I have the catheter, right? Yeah. So I can take this pee, I can inject it in my bladder, and I will be fine. Mm-hmm. I will go in there and I'll pee.
So you'd fake the urine sample?
I will fake the urine sample.
But in a very advanced way. Most people that are faking urine sample, they just have their friend's urine in a glass.
In a glass. And then
you take it all the way.
Yeah, if someone was standing right there next to me, they'd be like, okay, he's peeing. Yeah. And, everything is fine.
It's probably the only time in your life where you were happy about that kidney thing.
Actually, it's several other times, too, because there was times where I had to, pee in public, and I'm like, well, it's not going to be indecent exposure, so I'm just going to go ahead and do it. Yeah.
Okay, so you show up for the...
So I show up for the thing. Yeah, I come up positive anyway. Yeah, just kind of just
in the system.
It was in the system, so, I failed. So they had to let me go. My manager, and I were in this room, and he had to let me go. He had to give me the story, and and then we both shed some tears because, he was great. He was, very influential on me, even musically. Mm. Even to this day, the things that we were listening to while we were checking in all the parts and stuff in the morning, I still listen to today. He put me on to Frank Zappa. He put me on to so many others. It just he really influenced
opened the horizon.
Oh my gosh, it was amazing. All this music that he was, and I was like, what is this music that you're playing? This is it's so strange, but it's the exact genre of music. So it was just this rock jazz fusion that I was just super digging. So I'm totally into it now. He was playing Yes and all these different bands.
It's kind of like when my girlfriend sits in a car with me for 2-3 hours. It's just, what is this? What is this? What is this? Because, But because I'm older than her, so she gets this music from me that she wouldn't get from her environment. I guess it was the same for you with this guy.
Absolutely. Yeah. As a matter of fact, that even led to me even discovering this one. I think it was an Icelandic folk band that I just got into about 2 years ago.
Monsters and Men.
No, it was something Kriget. It's I don't know how to say the first name, but Once I find it, I'll
Yeah.
let you know. Yeah.
But wait a little bit. Let's go back a little bit to the.
Sure.
Yeah. So this. So I guess when you go to that hospital with that injury from the spare part falling on your toe,
Right.
they test you positive for marijuana.
Yeah, they did.
And then that's the thing that happens. Was that like I don't know, like was smoking marijuana something that you did recreationally or just?
Yeah, it was just recreationally. It's basically a self-medication.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm still dealing with trauma. So it's, and a lot of people are, people who are mostly indulging in marijuana are typically self-medicating from something, some kind of trauma. It's not just recreational. Yes, it is recreational, but it's also trying to cope. Yeah, so it was a coping mechanism for me.
And at that time, I guess there wasn't this medical marijuana use like what has happened now. It's been legalized all over the place.
Yeah,
I mean,
this
you
was
go to
before
California and you smell marijuana everywhere.
Right. Yeah, this wasn't it. Like Virginia is still a very conservative state.
Yeah.
So
it still is.
Yeah, it still is. Yeah.
Okay.
They're just now kind of like starting to be a little bit more free with the marijuana, but at the time, no. Like, laws were completely strict about marijuana. I got caught with it in Northern Virginia. I had to do several months of drug. I don't want to say drug. It was like a drug class. Supposed to be a rehabilitative class, and then there was some. I had to do some work as well. So community service. So yeah, it's very strict as far as when it comes to drugs.
So you could say that you've done time.
Essentially,
Technically.
yes. Technically, yes. Technically.
Killing them willingly, filling them with ooze. Consider them feminine. Slow cooked acetone, carbon post imprints. With the earth, they are fitting them. Unleashed ravenous raven with no safe haven. Cater slaughters,
But it's interesting how marijuana is being demonized or stigmatized in a way, because especially after moving here where marijuana is used a lot, you actually see it in it actually has a positive effect. There's much less violence here. There is hardly any vandalism. Like it's a completely different vibe.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if for example, where I'm from in Iceland, you go out on a Friday night, it's weird if you don't see at least 5 fights.
Oh, of course.
But if you go out here, I've been here 11 years, I've seen 1 fight in 11 years.
Right.
It's a completely different vibe. I'm not saying that everybody is stoned 24/7 here, but it's just a much more laid-back environment.
Yeah,
somehow.
it's way more chill out here, for sure.
So I guess this was kind of a shocker to lose a job that you like.
It was a shocker, definitely emotionally, financially, for sure. I had to quickly get back on my feet. So I found a job maybe a week or 2 after that. I got another job working for Horseman Toyota after that. Was not so enjoyable, this experience. I did get some friends out of it, but my manager at the time was quite racist. Stuck me up front to make sure that everybody knows that there's a black person that is working there. But they didn't take me. I felt like they didn't take me seriously to put me in the back where the parts were being dealt out to the service technicians, which I was actually working in the back with the service technicians in Miller Toyota.
Yeah, so that you were not being used for your expertise.
Right, right. Like I had various experiences with inventory, with with dealing with the service technicians, with driving with front parts, which is like dealing with the walk-up customers and stuff like that. So I felt like I wasn't really taken very seriously, and there was a reason why, because the manager, every once in a while, he felt like the need to like give me one of those racist jokes, like hey, go into my office, I got a joke for you. It's like, okay, I gotta deal with that shit. What I do for a paycheck, right? So, having to deal with this.
But it's very unusual, sorry, Johnny,
of course.
that to hear a rapper talk about that he is an expert on spare part logistics and dealing with spare parts. You contradict yourself in there are like two sides of Johnny, you know.
Yeah, completely.
It's really, really cool, actually.
Yeah.
But so your future wife at that time,
Yes.
you're still emailing.
Yes, I am. At that time, I'm still emailing. We're still emailing back and forth.
Okay, and when did it become more? When did it? Because you know it's 10 years since you came here to Prague, so something evolved, I guess.
Yes, it did. So we went from emailing each other to Skyping each other. So as technology kind of evolved, so did we.
Second base.
Right, exactly. Yeah, so everything became more real. Like I haven't seen her in years, and then all of a sudden she's right here on the screen. Yeah. It was pretty fantastic. So we were talking. She was in a relationship at the time. I was in a relationship at the time. Both were kind of long distance. Well, mine was very long distance. Hers was long distance. He was living with her at the time, and then he moved away. Mine was also an au pair from Australia at the time. She moved back, and then we tried to continue our relationship from there, and we would go years without talking to each other. So I was with her for like 4 years, and I think I've seen her like maybe a year and a half out of those 4 years. So we're trying to carry on this relationship, and it's not really working. So we're consoling each other on each other's relationships, and then we ended up kind of like being in a relationship. So,
and she moved to the States, or you just decided to come here then, or
she came to visit. So she came to visit me for 10 days. We went around and visited different places. We spent time with each other. It was great. Then I came up here for 10 days. Checked it out. It was really cool. Visiting. I really liked it. It was like around this time of year, actually. Even it was like freshly after Christmas time. It was cold. It was snowy. Super cold, actually. It's never been that cold since then. Yeah. It was like minus 20.
Yeah, I remember this.
Yeah. Yeah, and it hasn't been like that since, strangely enough,
They were trying to put you off.
Yeah, maybe it was like, you know what? This guy's coming over. Let's put on a show.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's freeze him out. So it didn't. I liked it. It was great. Had a good time. Really liked it. Spent a lot of time with each other. It was wonderful. I came back. We had to decide, okay, we want this. This is us. This is for us. Where are we going to live? So I was like, okay, well, let's go and make this list of pros and cons. Let's see. It was all pretty much equal in some ways. This was, of course, pre-empire of the U.S. falling. So everything was still kind of hunky-dory in the States for a while, kind of. So the pros and cons were about equal. Then I was like, you know what? Okay. I'm going to flip a coin. So heads, we live in the States. Tails, we live in Prague. Landed on tails. About 4 or 5 months after that, I packed my stuff and came on out here.
Okay.
Yep.
And you got a job or right away, or how was that settling in here?
So I came during the summertime. It was about 2 months. I was kind of like settling in, visiting the city, going around, kind of finding my way around. Got a job at the hostel. There was a Plus Prague hostel. Started working there. I worked there for the rest of the summer. It was pretty cool. It was a bar, a lot of drinking. I think probably a little too much drinking for me. I'm not really a drinker, but I did drink a little bit. Otherwise, it was pretty cool. I mean, it was a good way to start. It was some money. Then I got a job. Once we got married, then I got a job working for AB InBev for about 6 months or so, maybe a little bit less. Didn't like that so much. Wasn't really AB InBev. I wasn't for them, and they weren't for me. So we amicably split. Yep. And then soon after that, I got a job with Honeywell, and the job with Honeywell lasted for quite a while, about 8 or 9 years.
And what let's say, when did you get into the rap scene here? Was that immediately when you came? Did you go and seek it out and
almost immediately, almost within the first, I'd say, 4 or 5 months.
Okay.
A person that I knew that I was working with, Gianluca, he was at the time making an album. He was working with a guy named Ironic, who was kind of popular here at one point. So somehow I got on his album, just doing the intro, and doing that, I got to meet Ironic. We got together. He heard some of my freestyles and stuff, and he was pretty impressed. So I started working with him. So he went and got a studio, and we started working out at a studio. We called it Slick House Studios. Myself, Iron Cap was there. C-Bugs, C-Monts was there. Also, there was who else was there? It was quite a few others. Tuco, there was just a big crew of just like.
And is this a big scene here in general? I mean, the rap scene in the Czech Republic. I mean, is it a big scene?
For Czechs, yes. Czechs, it's a pretty big scene. I think there's quite a few well-known rappers out of here. As far as the expat community, it's a whole different scene that has dwindled. There's not many expat rappers here like there were before. I think I'm probably one of the few left who are actually actively rapping for the expat community now.
And how is that scene here? I mean, like, what is there? I don't know. Do they have their own style, like the local rap scene? I mean, do they have their own style or?
Yeah, the Czech scene. Yeah, they definitely have their own style. They definitely, I would say, it's changed. Is kind of like evolved since I've been here. It was definitely a little bit more boom bap. The style was a little bit more kind of old school, which was fine with me because that's where my genre is. That's where I feel comfortable. And then slowly evolved. Once music evolved and rap in general evolved, it kind of evolved with it. So now it's a little bit more, can be more emo, can be more, I guess it was what they would call, it's an old term, but mumble rap. It's not really mumble rap anymore. It's just, I don't know, just more contemporary rap, more modern rap. Is kind of evolved more into that now. So you have a lot more different rappers, and then you have like some of the older rappers trying to do the newer style. But everybody's trying to move into this wave. So anytime there's a new wave, the Czechs are kind of like jumping on that wave and then doing it their Czech style on that wave. Yeah, because
it's interesting with if you listen to Czech rock music, for example, it feels. A lot of it very stagnated. Like it feels like it's it's like they heard it in '89 or '90.
Yeah, like Kabat and these guys.
Nothing has really changed.
Right.
So it's different in the rap scene. It's more dynamic.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
I would say so.
But I'm just curious. I mean, now you've been here 10 years in Prague, and then obviously you lived a lot more years in the States and different places and so on. I mean,
right.
What is it that you miss from the U.S., if anything?
Other than family and friends, I would say maybe sometimes the food. The food is actually pretty good. I miss some of the places, like just it's more nostalgia than anything. I miss going to Chick-fil-A. The smell of the Chick-fil-A, or the feeling of Christmas. And you see all the houses with all the lights and people going completely overboard. I miss some of the traditions, watching football on Thanksgiving. I miss, going out with my friends for Halloween. Those sort of things. It's more of a nostalgia based. But I would say, like, as far as the things that I may not miss, is like the commercialism. Looking back at it, like, people were just buying things just to acquire them and keep them, and completely clutter their house with them. And
exactly.
for me, I've learned living here that, you know, less is more.
Yeah.
Less is less stress, you know.
And you like the lifestyle here more, or
I like my lifestyle here more than I would say the lifestyle. Like more things have more of a purpose here than frivolously spending and doing things that were more cosmetic in the States.
But why do you think this is like? If we look at, I mean, I checked these just the murder rate, for example. If I take Portsmouth, where you're born, it has almost 18 murders per 100,000 inhabitants, and it happens to be 100,000 inhabitants.
Right. Yeah.
And then I checked just, you know, the Czech Republic has 0.6 murders per 100,000 inhabitants, and a lot of the Americans that I've met and that I know that live here in Prague, they say, "Oh, here I'm actually free." You know, here is actually real freedom in Prague versus the land of the free, which is the U.S.
Right.
Why? How can a small community like Portsmouth, with 100,000 people, I mean, if you kill 18 people a year, you end up killing someone that you know, or you know someone that knows them.
And actually, probably most of the murders are like that.
Actually, that's true. So it kind of proves that point. But what happens? You know, what do you think is the cause of this?
The cause of it is
we don't have 7 hours, but
right, of course. I mean, I can definitely tell you directly what it is. It's like, you know, you put people in a trap. You know, you entrap them. You basically have poverty. You know, you have these housing projects where you're a product of your environment. Your environment is very, very poor. You're doing everything you can to survive. You got to feed your children. What are you going to do? You can't, you know, jobs are like you're not going to really find any good jobs to be able to make the money. And if you do find a job, it's not going to be enough. You know, a lot of these jobs are not meant to be, you know, to pay your rent and pay for your food and pay for everything. A lot of these jobs in the States, and that's like across, you know, America, you know, a lot of these jobs are not designed to
make a living.
You know, so what do? You know, you have to eat, you have children, you must survive. So a lot of times there's, you know, drugs are very accessible, very easy to sell. And when you're in the drug game, then there's going to be violence that follows because you're messing with people's money, you're messing with people's livelihoods, and, you know, people get shot and killed over these sort of things. You know, plus, you know, you have guns on the street. You have liquor stores on every corner. You have the ingredients to make this, you know, to foster, you know, this environment. So you put the ingredients together, you're gonna make a cake. You know, so it's easy to, you know, to see why the murder rate is so high when they put things in place, you know, for those things to happen.
But it's interesting now, like we just had the election and a new president in the US, and obviously the previous one wasn't popular and very controversial personality. But I feel like in some way what you're describing there is that this is not a consequence of one or two terms of presidents. You know, this is a systematic issue.
Yeah,
this is the society. And when you talk to, when I go to the States, what I always noticed, I remember the first time I went there, I was quite old back. I was probably like 25 when I went to the States for the first time. And I remember I thought, like, everybody's talking about money. The whole thing evolves around money.
Right.
And so it seems to be me that the value system is a completely different value system than what we have here, and everything is somehow measured in money or wealth or like you're saying, buying things and something like that. And I'm just curious to it's just so alien to me, coming from a small community myself in Iceland with 350,000 people,
Right.
that you could have in a small town. Because okay, I can understand it in a big city where there are millions of people, you don't have these contacts, and you know, but in I was very surprised when I saw this, I have to say.
Absolutely. It's definitely a reality for us. You know, and poverty, the lack of money, plus the dangling of the carrot of the American dream. I would say, when you work so hard doing the jobs and it doesn't equal out, like you work hard, you don't get paid enough. Money is always going to be an issue. Yeah. So this becomes the cycle. This becomes an issue.
You get the loans also, and then you pay interest. And
absolutely.
It's a trap.
Yeah, it's a complete trap.
So you come here as you come here for love. I mean, that's no secret. But you have a professional career, and you're working in procurement in Honeywell, but you're a rapper on the side. I mean, how does that kind of coexist? I mean, it's I have I have this partner in my business that plays guitar in a metal band, and when people see him, they would never think that he plays guitar and metal. But when I look at you, I would never think, oh, this is a rapper. You know, like it's you don't have that sticker on your forehead or anything like that.
Right.
So how is it to combine this career where rapping, just like rock and roll, is often associated with kind of bad boy,
right?
And if you listen to the lyrics, it's definitely bad boy stuff, you know?
Sure.
How is it to let these two things coexist and to have a family as well?
Well, the job funds the rapping, the recording, the beats, everything. So it's it kind of coincides economically. As far as image is concerned, I think I still have a rap persona at work. They know me as the rapper. You know, they know me as that's what I do on my, you know, while I'm not at work. I don't think it really affects what I do professionally, as far as how they view me or if they take me.
They take you seriously. And yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I don't think it affects that.
But it's a conservative environment in some way. You know, corporate environment in Czech Republic is often a little bit conservative.
Yeah, it is quite,
to say the least.
Yeah. But I think that if you were to balance it, I think if you balance it properly, I think it's okay. Like I don't let it, like I don't go, like let's say I go and I have a show at night, and I'm not going to go and get drunk and torn up to the point to where I can't go to the work, you know, the next morning. You know, there's still a certain amount of responsibility that I have to kind of keep. Also still across, I mean, image wise too, I don't want to be seen around, you know, around town drunk and, you know, completely, you know, out of sorts. Like I want to kind of maintain a certain image, you know, outside of work on top of inside of work, you know, so that way everything is balanced. It's sometimes difficult. And then having a family on the top, like my son knows what I do. He's 2 years old. He still knows what I do. Like he's actually been to one of my recording sessions. He's been to my video sessions. He's seen me perform, you know, at shows. So he knows, you know, he sees it. Oh, daddy's dancing, you know, and it's really cool for him to actually even be aware that this is going on. So it's pretty cool. But yeah, all these things I have to kind of keep a certain decorum, you know, to make sure that I'm not out of sorts. Even my Facebook profile, IG and stuff like that, I try to post, you know, classy things, not anything, you know what I mean?
Not so too much.
Yeah, not too risque or anything like that. I don't want to be viewed as that guy. You know, I don't have a like this, you know, squeaky clean image either. Like I'm definitely not that dude either, but I'm not someone who's going to do something that's going to be like, if I see something, I'm gonna say, okay, that's in bad taste. I'm not gonna post that. I'm not gonna say that. I'm not going to have that in my video, et cetera, et cetera. So, as long as I'm able to control my image and how I want to brand myself, then once I have control over that, I'm okay. Yeah.
But your songs, there are two songs that I really, really like that you made. One of them is called Breathe, and the other one's called Concrete God Slaps. And I think the lyrics in Concrete God Slaps are let's say, I don't know when you swear a lot. What's that called?
It's just cursing.
Yeah. But I mean, because I know that in some cases you have performed at work events.
Yes, I did. Actually, I did perform that a couple times. Yeah.
And that particular song, can you perform that at a work event?
That particular song, Concrete God Slaps, not on the microphone.
No.
Come on. Live and uncut. Damaging niggas. You better wise the fuck up. Youngblood, slap a bitch on the mic.
That particular song, Concrete God Slaps, not on the microphone. Not on the microphone. I'll do it like, there's a group of people and, I want to, I'll go and I'll, kick a rap or whatever. I'll do that one. I could even do the verse, but maybe not the hook, because the hook is pretty brutal.
Yeah,
which I love. But the verse can be, I don't know, depending on how you deliver it, you can change it and modify it how you want it to. I can make it poetry if I needed to. So So it's all about the delivery as far as the verse, but the hook, the refrain, I probably would refrain from actually saying that.
You would get some eyes when you would come to the office the day after performing that at a company event.
I probably would get some. I think they would say, that was really cool, and they would probably just leave it at that, and probably would, any other opinions they may not, express in my face.
But talking about language in rap,
right.
Now, it's we live in a day and age where anything you say can and will be used against you, not in the court of law, but on social media or wherever you let those words out. And
which
people
is just
are
as bad almost now.
Yeah, people are getting insulted on behalf of others, on behalf of people they don't know, on behalf of nations they don't know.
Right.
And they are very offended for the tiniest thing ever.
Absolutely.
Now, how? And I mean, and from what I see, that a lot of people, even myself, you kind of start self-censoring in a way that you try to avoid either discussing certain topics, or you really think about how to pick your words. Now, obviously, it's always good when people are considerate to others and blah, blah, blah. But on the other hand, we will never be able to live in a world where everybody can walk on eggshells and nothing breaks,
Right.
Now, if I look at rap, it's kind of feels like rap has avoided this in some way. I mean, you hear the occasional, this is degrading for women, or this is something like that. But it's equally women that are rapping degradingly then, and men. So you can't even say, it's just chauvinistic, or it's just this and that. Do you feel this? I mean, because now you've been involved in this for a really long time. I mean, you've been more than 20 years involved, and I guess you're really into this genre and what's going on.
Right.
How is this affected by this?
Well, I think the thing is that hip hop actually spearheaded actually having this freedom of speech sort of thing. There's, when NWA, had the FBI looking for them, or Uncle Luke, had to go up against the Supreme Court, fighting, to be able to have his lyrics, and not have to be, having the cops come down on him and put him in jail and stuff like that. So, we put in the sweat and the tears to kind of be able to have this freedom of speech. We faced governments, we went through that. We fought for that. So, I think if you're able to fight for that, and you're willing to go through the slings and arrows, I think you deserve to be able to have that freedom of speech. So I think that's where hip hop is now. But as far as the degradation, I mean, I think now a lot of it is just the same type of degradation and the same type of, there's no variety here. You're talking about money, you're talking about hoes, you're talking about cars, and bitches, everything is
bitches and hoes.
Bitches and hoes. It's a lot, and it's on the radio, and it's to be broadcasted, and that too is also a part of this whole systematic racism. Because this is done, of course, who owns the radio stations, right? They are in control of what's being played over it, and I think there's an agenda there, and I believe that the lyrics that they are exhibiting on the radio stations are directly affecting the minds of the listeners, specifically.
Who is behind this?
I believe it is I would say, not the Illuminati, but the people who are like a part of the 1%, the people who are in charge of media as a whole. Like, this, not as a whole, but like all the media, the major stations. So all of their major stations, and then there's all the sub smaller radio stations, local ones, and then they're incentivized to play this music.
So in the purpose of it's a way of brainwashing. I mean, I don't think these songs do anything to uplift any communities. Certainly I don't see that. And the songs that are, because there are tons of songs that are very, very uplifting and inspiring to do very good things, are not being played. And there's been a shift, and I was there for the shift. I've seen the shift. I've seen Public Enemy, and then I've seen Migos. I've seen the shift, and there was a wave of positivity coming out that has been completely hushed. There was Common, there was Talib Kweli, there was Mos Def. The whole neo soul movement was all about uplifting and educating. Blacks then primarily, or I mean, is it music aimed at?
Yeah, at the black demographic, absolutely.
So you feel that the let's say the powers in control, or the puppet masters, let's call them that they are maintaining a certain message through music in this case. I mean, I guess they do it then in a lot of other things as well, film and other entertainment.
Absolutely.
That protects the status quo.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that perpetuates the crime rates. That perpetuates. There's a lot of drug rap, a lot of cocaine rap, a lot of stories of slinging cocaine. Let's make some crack. Let's get some Arm & Hammer. Let's get some baking soda in there. Let's mix it up. Let's cut these bricks. Serve it to the public. There's a lot of that out there too. And I think a lot of that is just to perpetuate the crime rate.
But do you so in this sense, I guess that the cancel culture will never manage to break this down, because in this case they are up against, as you say, the puppet masters that have the control.
They are the ones who. So basically, they were wondering, okay, all right, how are we going to be the main culture influencers? Let's take the average kid from the hood, who may or may not have much talent. Let's tell them the message that we want to hear, and let's have it broadcasted all over the United States. And let that be the culture. This is the culture that we want to perpetuate to the young black and urban youth. Let's get that message out there, and let's give them the ingredients to be able to make this happen Let's give them drugs. Let's give them guns. Let's give them, tons of alcohol to make, terrible decisions. Let's give them poverty. Make sure that, they are not able to survive on their own, to be able to, they can have a job. Make sure they're not able to pay their bills, and have them find another way to make the money. But at the same time, they're making the choice. And that's the key, is to make sure that they are making the choice. But you guide them to make the choice that you want them to make. And that's I feel like is going on there.
But, I mean, then, of course, you're always going to be somehow the product of your environment. You're going to be, affected by what happens to you and where you're from and all these things and the cultures around you. And I mean, in some way, I admit I can see this, what you're saying. I could buy into this.
Okay.
I personally think that in America there is a conspiracy against its people at all levels. To keep them sick, to keep them indebted, to convince them to buy the second car, third car.
Yes.
The traffic infrastructure, and it means that they need to commute all the time, so they can't even read. They don't have any free time. They don't have holiday. And on top of all of this, there's someone that convinces them that this is the best country in the world, and it's not.
Right.
It's the biggest hoax ever.
Completely.
So I could buy into something like this, but people will probably call me crazy for it, and you as well. But that's fine.
Yeah.
Worse things could happen. But on the other hand, towards this, you have the individual responsibility that I, as a person, am responsible for my own fate and my own choices.
Absolutely.
And if I look at you, you're actually, you had, so you had this medical issue with your kidneys and your urine system as a 7-year-old. You're abused by a relative. You have issues at school that are consequences of these things. You come from a town where it's probably easier to be a criminal than a good guy, let's say. And you have issues. You fail a drug test. You obviously had some problems in your life, and I can't say that you had the wind in your sails.
Right.
But here you are.
Yeah.
You become a father. You had a good job. I know you left that job now, but you had a good job. I mean, it's COVID and it's weird times.
Right.
You've created music, and so in some way, you're maybe an example of someone who kind of swam against the stream in a way, or
yeah. I was born swimming against the stream, because everything that led up to like now, as far as even medically, I was raised basically in the hospital. I had, instead of having the local drug dealer be my influence and who I see as the person I want to be, it was the doctors and the nurses that were like, who I wanted to be like. I wanted to be a doctor when I was young, because I saw the doctors doing all the cool stuff,
helping people,
and saving lives and things like that. I thought that was pretty cool. So I was a product of my environment, essentially, because I was in the hospital every year.
So maybe that saved you in a way, that you saw the role models differently.
Essentially, yes. Essentially, yes. Yeah. So, I'm pretty sure if I didn't have that influence, I would, I have to be influenced in some sort of way. Yeah. Maybe would have been the local drug dealer, the local thug, someone who I think, has it all, or is doing better than I am. But to me, that was the doctors. They made the money. They saved the lives. They were the coolest. They were always nice to me. They were, smart. They were great. They made a difference in a lot of people's lives, and I think that was more or less what my influences were.
But it's interesting. Like I guess you could be an inspiration for a lot of kids from that go through the same things. And as I said, I mean, it's it's also our responsibility to break out of the system, or to break
absolutely.
off the route, somehow. And I mean, I guess it can be hard, and people have different strengths. But if you could do it, then I guess a lot of other people that have dealt with less
Absolutely.
challenging issues could.
For sure.
And actually, talking health, when I contacted you to come here and meet with me, you were actually recovering from an operation.
Yeah. I just had a kidney transplant about a month and a half ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
So was that connected to the issue from
all the way from the birth defect, actually? Yeah, because the botch then went into the catheterization. The catheterization brings a certain amount of bacteria in that then infects the kidneys that were already damaged from birth. I lost the right kidney at 12. I had my only left kidney left, and then that failed, and I was on dialysis for 2 years.
So you go into a machine, or like, what's it called? Like
it's a cycler that basically
filters.
Yeah, filters your blood and all that stuff. So I did that for 2 years prior to the surgery, which I had in November. Yep.
And so you got a donor kidney.
I did. Yeah.
And you don't know anything about where that's from or anything. How does this work?
Yeah, it was a deceased donor. The hospital like to keep that sort of stuff kind of anonymous. So all I know is that the person was a male. I think that was probably even by mistake that I even found that out, because they were saying, like, how the kidney worked in the person before, and then it was a long journey for me as far as the kidney, because usually you get a kidney transplant, you're probably in and out of there in about 2 weeks. Mine took a whole month, because the kidney took a long time for it to start working. Then after it started working and they felt, good enough for me to send me home, basically what they did is they sent me home for Christmas, because, they try to keep a low census in Christmas. And, I was well enough to be able to go home. But then after a while, I was anemic. I had very low red and white blood cells, so I had to go back for an additional 2 weeks after. So I went back, and then I've only been home for about a week and a half, maybe almost 2 weeks now. So that was, and I'm hoping that's like the end of my hospital journey so far. And I hope I don't have to go back for anything else. But yeah, so I basically just got back from the hospital from that whole ordeal. Yeah.
So there is basically another dude's kidney inside you now.
Yeah. It's working away right now. It's producing,
making pee,
making some good old pee.
Yeah,
making that yellow stuff.
Yeah.
That's
crazy, actually. Yeah. And how long did you wait for this?
Let's see. I was on a list for about a year and a half, almost like a year and 3/4 of a year. Yeah, a year and say, I don't know, 8 or 9 months. Yeah. So yeah, I was quite lucky. I think here the wait time is a lot less, because you have to sign out of the transplant.
Yeah, you opt out of the donation process, so there are more kidneys available.
Exactly. Yeah, so the process is a lot faster. I probably would be waiting a lot longer in the States. Probably like 4 or 5 years or so. I think it's somewhere around the average. And then on the top of that, you get a new transplant, you get a new lease on life, but you still get the hospital bill. You still got to take medicine, and the anti-rejection medicines are like hundreds of bucks. And
here it's part of our social insurance.
Yeah, I think I just got a prescription for Invirus, which is one of my main anti-rejection drugs, and it said, that's on the insurance. You don't have to pay. Here's 3 boxes of something that costs about $300 in the States.
Yeah, I always, when I've been to a doctor, I'm like, are you sure you don't want me to pay anything? But
here's a tip.
But it's so it's a Czech kidney.
Yes, it is.
So
I believe I believe it is.
This is a kidney that will be able to deal with a lot of beer then.
Yeah, this should be ready for
any kind of beer drinking.
Oh man, Kozel.
Yeah,
ready for Budvar, whatever you want. Yeah, it's made tough.
Yeah,
yeah.
It's built to last. It's like Ford.
It is.
Okay, but we're kind of coming to the end of it. But I just wanted to ask you. I mean, how do you see it develop for yourself? Like, if you look forward into the future now. I mean, you pretty much had in your life a lot of challenging things, and hopefully now with this kidney transplant, you are at least over one of the mountains.
Yes.
Let's say.
Yes.
Is there green fields and sunshine ahead?
I'm hoping so. Right now is kind of like a crossroads for me, kind of like a transition time. Not only because of the kidney, but career-wise as well. I'm thinking if I still want to do corporate, or be in an office environment, I like it because it's steady. It's steady money. I get paid. Do I like some of the corporate, attitude and things like that? Not really. I'm a bit more of a artsy creative type person, essentially. But, I've been in the corporate, arena for quite some time, so I'm kind of used to it. But is it something that I have a passion for? Not really. But yeah, I do my job well. Whatever I want to do. You train me and I will get it done. But I think maybe I would want to start going into education. I'm thinking of being an English teacher for a while.
Usually it's the other way around. You do that when you come here, and then 10 years on, you're something else. You're doing it backwards.
I'm doing it backwards. Yeah. Absolutely. Usually, when you come here, you're definitely taking on the English because I think it's easy to get into in a way. Also, it's steady work, and then you can also control your hours. Yeah. And I think that's where I want to be now, where I'm actually controlling my hours.
That you can then give more to the music and
I can give more to the music and give more to my son.
Yeah.
I can I could be a little bit more flexible with my time. So and also I would like to work from home as well. So I want to be more but then also have more sources of income as well, not just education, but maybe also I might want to take on something else, maybe even my own business. I'm thinking of actually a few different avenues.
Okay.
Yeah. So
sounds cool.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And what about the rap? I mean, I know you're working on an album, or you kind of I don't know what stage it is. What's going on there?
Well, right now I'm working on an album that's going to be self-produced, which is the production side is definitely new for me, but it's something that has been in the making for a long time. I was doing loops and different sounds and songs back when I was 2021, and I had such very rudimentary ways of bringing that together. So basically, I had a DVD player that had the little A/B function.
Yeah,
I would take a CD and then I would make the loops out of the A/B function, and then I would record it on cassette, and then that's how I started with the loops, and then now. Some time had passed and I didn't have any equipment or anything like that. And, some of the things that I was trying to come to fruition really didn't work out. I actually had a program in which I was using to produce music, and my computer crashed. So all the music that I'd done previously had just completely gone. And I'll never be able to retrieve it. And that kind of sent me back for a bit, and I was like, I don't have that same drive anymore, because all the stuff that I'd done previously is gone. It was actually some good stuff, and I don't know where to start now. So then recently I started picking it back up again. I had some friends that were into it. They showed me which way to go. Thanks to my friend Giannis, was the one who showed me kind of what machine to get. I got the Native Instruments. And I started working on, doing loops again, making my own beats. And that kind of started me to want to become more of a complete artist and not have to go and pay for someone else's vision and of what the beats should sound like, and actually make that for myself to be able for me to create the entire story. So with the lyrics plus the production,
music and producing the whole thing.
Right.
And when do you think you gonna publish something? I mean, or do you have any idea about that?
Yeah, I'm thinking somewhere around summertime, because I want to be able to follow that up with some shows as well. And I'm thinking, like
when things open up again.
I hope so. I'm hoping, like, just like last year, like COVID kind of took a big dip when everything kind of like got, warm. I'm hoping that will happen again. Plus on the top, with the vaccines and stuff. And I'm hoping at that time we don't have to worry about COVID as much. Like I feel like it's still going to be around. Yeah. But I feel like it's going to be, it's not going to be so intense and everything won't be so closed, and maybe we'll be able to have some shows once, you'll be able to show whether or not you have like...
I hope so. I really, really hope so.
Yeah, right.
This is getting pretty boring.
It's getting, really is starting to take a toll psychologically. Yeah. Yeah, it's really like, because I went through all this whole transplant thing, and then before they you have a transplant, they tell you what freedom you're gonna have and all this. I haven't really experienced any freedom because there's nowhere to go. There's nothing to do. I can't go any shows. I can't go any movies. I can't really even travel. I've been home basically. Like this is one of the few times I've actually even been out. It's just right now. Wow. Yeah.
So let's stay here 10 more hours just to enjoy your freedom. And
sure. Please. Let's do that.
Anyway, so where is it possible to kind of keep up with you? I mean, you have Instagram.
I do. I have an Instagram, J Youngblood 3000 on Instagram.
J Youngblood.
Yep, J Youngblood.
Yep. 3000.
3000.
And Facebook.
Facebook, Johnny Youngblood on Facebook. I have a fan page there. You can also go to, and let's see, you can find me on Bandcamp. I have 3 albums out on Bandcamp currently. I also have a channel on YouTube as well, Johnny Youngblood, and you can find me there as well. Okay. And then soon, probably by summertime, you'll also be able to find me on Spotify and some of the other streaming platforms.
Yeah, because I found some of the stuff where you were collaborating with others on Spotify.
Yeah,
with this Iron Cap guy here in Prague.
Right.
And then I found some of the other stuff in different places. But guys, definitely check Johnny out. It's really, and I recommend these 2 songs, Breathe and the Concrete God Slaps. These are really, really cool songs. And
awesome, thanks.
And the videos are actually nice as well. They're produced here, right?
Yes, they are all produced here. Yeah, in Prague.
And it's quite a journey you've had. I must say. I mean, it would have been a million times easier just to give up, I guess.
At times I wanted to. Yeah, for sure.
But those of you who like the show, please follow it. It's on Spotify, Google, Apple, and a few other different platforms. We have an Instagram account that is called, I think, Bunker Prague. It's not a big one. It's just me trying to be funny. My personal one is Midlife Crisis Warrior on Instagram, and I have the same on Twitter. The show has a Facebook page called The Bunker, How the Hell Did We End Up Here? Feel free to write me anything, not religious stuff though, like I've been getting lately. But if you know any cool people that are having an interesting story or doing something cool, let me know about them. I'm happy to have them on my show. Thanks to the sponsors. Please review me, and hope you enjoyed it. Johnny, thanks for coming.
Hey, thanks for having me.
All right.
Cool. All right.
Change my mind, I'll look on the world is tinted with rose-colored glasses. The misery of fist full of pistol change thoughts to roses or thistles. When what I once knew and what I now know collide like 2 worlds fighting for the same space. That's fighting for the same space, fighting for the same space.